welcome to Crafts and Crime. I'm Amy.
I'm Elaine.
And as always, we've got a craft and a crime.
Woohoo!
So we have been busy the last week or so.
Yeah.
Oh, we were always busy, but we did a lot of chicken stuff this weekend. We got your coop all moved in, and we filled it and moved because I
With
had
the
all
help of my husband and your son. They picked it up and moved it, and your son had mown the lawn, and I ruined your lawnmower.
It's okay. But no, it's been a big task, the
It was a
backyard.
lot.
Yeah. So, and then the chickens, man, they just tore that down.
Oh, I know. It's so
'cause-
cute. They trampled it all flat, and now they're scratching at the root part. So
It's going to
I
be
like
dirt
it.
in no time.
Yep.
Yeah, then it gets muddy like mine. But it's
Yeah.
been really rainy here.
it really has.
Yeah, it rained like all day yesterday.
The whole,
like,
but it's crazy
Gold.
because up in the Pacific Northwest, where my parents and sister are, it is like hot.
What?
Yes. It's weird.
So weird.
But they're saying we're in for a hell of a summer because it's not summer yet. It is not summer until June 21st this year is the solstice. And I think it's like a Wednesday. And so, but yeah, they're saying we are in for it. But as of right now, I know I'm over it, but I get it. Like, this is an amazing reprieve. We've had actually a really nice spring. We're lucky. It was a crazy winter.
Yeah.
The Farmer's
it was
Almanac
weird.
was wrong this year.
Way wrong. I know we got snow. We
For
never...
the first time, like, it was the
And-
first time my daughter had ever seen falling snow at almost 12. So
Yeah, same with my kids.
yeah,
Because
magic.
where we live, it doesn't snow.
Mm-mm.
And
It's a freak
snowed
occurrence. It's
all day.
Yeah,
That was pretty
it was
fun.
crazy. And then it melted by the next day completely.
Oh, I
too.
know.
Except for the little snowman. He made it for
yeah.
like 3 days.
But yeah, we've had weird weather here in SoCal. And
Yeah.
so it's just been like June gloom. But I like it. I'd rather this and working outside. This is when we're like getting the garden ready, and like Jack worked outside. But even with the June gloom, you can still get a sunburn. And my husband
Yes.
will always get a sunburn.
Yeah, because the UV is still pretty strong
at the
through
back
the
of
clouds.
his neck. Did you see it? It's like
I don't think so. No.
Was I can't even remember if he was wearing his hat that day.
No.
Probably not.
I remember he
don't
was complaining about wearing his good shoes.
Oh, yeah, he always does that. But yeah, so my husband worked on the backyard and
Sorry,
like
I'm clicking my
moved
pen.
No, put the pen down.
Sorry.
And then throw
I
it away.
threw it.
And yeah, and that's when I think I just came over to hang out. Oh, I came over to help you with the chicken stuff because it was already in the spot.
Yeah,
Saturday.
And I had just cleaned out the stuff from when it was clean, housing our hobo cat for a little while before he was fixed.
Yeah.
And so we cleaned it out, and I had just got done, and I was like, "Hey, you want to help me?" Because I
Yeah.
didn't completely remember how to put the slats on the roof,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Yeah, and then it turned into like an all-day thing.
it really did. It just turned into. But you helped me so much. It was so much. It's like almost all done. The only thing left is we have to do the sunsail.
Oh yeah.
But the size that I got, which is like a 14-foot by 20-foot, I have the two. But I'm pretty sure if we turn it lengthwise and just connect a couple feet of wire, because the kits I came with had enough, it would cover that with the sun. I think enough.
Yeah, that would be good.
And then we could save the other one to go cat a corner across
About the grass and
maybe
stuff.
possibly through both of our garages at the edge of your garage.
Oh.
And then the other side of my roof. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I
it's
think
all
we
this
really
stuff.
just need the one for right now. I think lengthwise 20 foot, because when it's up high, it covers a lot more than we think.
Yeah. Yeah, because your backyard is like my backyard because I have the covered canopy thing. And I have another canopy for the rabbits, and then the chickens have their shade, just like your chickens. But our backyards are mostly just like empty. Like, your landlord took down all the trees or whatever trees were back there, and we thankfully have a couple. But if you don't have any, we don't have like a covered patio or anything.
No,
so
the
you
edge
have a
of
tiny
my
bit.
covered patio is so tiny, but it's pointless until like 6:30 in the evening when the sun goes up and over. Before
or
that,
really
it's
early
just
in the morning.
cute, but yeah. So I'm afraid to put plants there because it's sun and hot
until
and
you
it
get the
radiates.
sun.
Yeah, it might help. It should. I'm hoping.
So that's what we've been doing is a
Just
lot of like
all the backyard prep for
stuff.
summer.
Yeah, it was funny because I came over to help with the chickens, and then it was, oh, let's move the plants.
Yeah, let's move the plants
And
around because I
then-
had to move my little veggie planters to the other side because the sun's coming, and so that has really good morning and afternoon sun, but it gets cut off by the garage for quite a while.
That's a good spot for tomatoes.
And so that's what's over there now. And then you were like, oh, let's just like hose off, because it was like,
no, I took the blower.
Yeah,
the
that's
leaf
right.
blower.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, let me just blow it off. And then I was like, oh, you know what? It'll cool it down because it got a little hot. And I was like, oh, you know what would cool it down is a good hose. Yeah, let's hose it off. And then I was hosing it off, and I was like, you know what would be really fun? Because it's all bricks.
I love the bricks.
The pressure washer. So
let's go get it.
Yeah, so we went over and got my pressure washer. And yeah, I kind of went crazy.
It was fun, though.
It was
now
fun.
It looks really cute back there.
Really pretty.
And the little pathway that goes to the back, which is going to be like the whole compost repotting area. And now the chickens are excited to see us every time we go out there, because I bring treats every time. They're going to get so fat, but like...
Yeah, Belial's so loud.
Oh my God, what a turd.
He's really loud. But... it is what it is.
Little Feline.
Yeah.
She's so cute. She's so cute. So cute. So, or should I say sweet and cute?
So, yeah, we've got chickens in your backyard, chickens in my backyard. We got to do the swap. I put my chickens, my babies, over in your backyard, as you know, because of the grass. So now it's like...
I'm like, I keep forgetting there's going to be even less.
Yeah, so I need to take
until
mine
the eggs
back.
all hatch.
Oh, I know. And then we're getting more you're getting more hatching eggs, and then I'm just gonna take my chicken's eggs, and then I'm gonna do some more quail. Someone hold us back.
Chicken math.
It's really bad.
We only have 2.
And then
allegedly.
Yeah, I started with the chickens, and then the rabbits, and the quail, and so like right now we have.
I'm wearing my husband down for a tortoise for sure, and our youngest wants a snake, and I'm sure our oldest would be fine with that too. And
Troy
I know Kurt kind of wants a snake too. I'm like, I want another tarantula. Shit is popping at the urban homestead.
No, seriously. We just don't know how to say
I was feeding a baby hummingbird.
Oh, yeah.
All day yesterday and last night. That was sad. A hummingbird nest got destroyed at my in-laws' house, and my brother-in-law did awesome all weekend. But he works. Yeah. And so I was like, yeah, I'll totally do it. And then I'll try to call a rescue Monday. So today we're recording. I woke up first thing and I was like, oh God. And I called around, and a lot of them were full, or not. They don't take those kinds. And one of them I called, if you're down in Southern California, it's a bit of a travel, but in Oak Glen, I think it was called the Bear... Oh, poo. I had it written down. I'm sorry. It was not... Anyway.
Well, I had never seen a hummingbird that tiny.
Yeah, no. I have because there was a hummingbird nest at our apartment complex. But yeah, so I called a bunch of places, and this one super sweet lady, Candy, gave me the number to a super sweet lady named Diane close by to us, and she came and picked it up, and now I miss it. The squeaking was so cute.
Yeah, it was so cute. It's so tiny.
So little.
Me and Jack were like, I've never seen one
the size
little.
Of a shooter marble.
Oh, so itty bitty. And a little, what was it, an ice cream cup?
Oh, yeah, an A&W ice cream sundae cup. But I'm guessing my father-in-law, he's like, all those little hummingbirds are like his sweet babies. He loves them. And he made like the perfect little nest out of grass. He like twists. It was so precious.
Pretty,
yeah. And the little hummingbird was happy, but it just started to get really tired, and I did not want to do this full time. I figured if I couldn't find someone, I could, but I did not want to. It's feeding every 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's kind of like with the rabbit. Sometimes I have to just decide to like let nature take its course, because I don't have the time to do this. So and in the wild, it would have just been what it is. And so for me, the rabbits are a different situation because it's the moms there. So like recently we had Mary, as you know, had babies, and a bunch of them didn't make it, but 2 did. And it was one of those things like, let's put them in the nesting box, and she's got to figure it out. And she did. She's taking care of them. They got little fat bellies, so
that's good.
Yeah. So it's
finally
it's
we were literally, because we were talking like she may just have to be gotten rid of as a pet.
Yeah,
and then she's like, never mind, I'm kidding, just here, I'll do it.
She's like, I'll do it, I'm just not good at it. So yeah, a lot going on, because that was this week too. That was just like a few days ago, I think, with the bunnies, and then my quail are laying eggs. It's so exciting. And there's
really cute.
Exciting spring things before the heat of the summer. And I'm a little nervous. I'm going to have to shave all my Angora rabbits because they're going to die.
Too, just in general. I mean,
it's really hot.
I know that for chickens, at least, the things you can do is like ice cube dunking baths for them to like fish for peas and stuff out of a little, or like frozen ice cubes full of vegetables and stuff like that.
Shade.
And
number one is shade.
But it's crazy because the way the sun comes through. But I really do think I'll probably end up covering the whole thing because the front and back are open and they get a ton of light through that in itself. So they're still not, they have a lot of UV to be healthy, and it also sterilizes their feathers. It's important that they get sunshine just like us, but I think they will have enough through the front, back, and side.
Yeah, you could you could also put up a bed sheet to make shade on the side, on the front, and that's what I've had to do.
You know what I should probably just do? You know, it would fit perfectly.
The sunsail?
The other sunsail. I don't think they're waterproof though. Not like 100% like the tarp would be.
No, it wouldn't, because I've done that before. It's not. But yeah, you could put the sunsail over there for shade. I don't know.
That's true.
We'll figure it out.
For at least for the summer, just extra sun protection.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry for the chit chat.
Done.
I know.
Chicken
we're at like
shit.
11. We're in at like 11 minutes just talking about chickens.
But you know what? I totally get it. Not everyone's going to want to hear that. And there are moments when I know in the beginning of some of the podcasts have banter, and I'll just skip past it on the days. And if you guys want to do that, that's okay.
And if you like listening to it, then follow us on Patreon and at Mommy's After Hour. Well, Patreon.
We're not singing
We're on
here.
Crafts and Crime Patreon.
Yep.
But
you can hear us sing, but I'm not singing it here.
No. Yeah. Okay. So what is your craft?
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm doing colors again.
Oh, okay.
I just keep like I find more and more interesting things because at first I was like, oh, I'm not going to talk about yellow. Like I know the colors for yellow. It's the same. It's like ochre, very similar to our original red, which was clay. Ochre is just a mineral that comes from rock. It's beautiful. I love it. I use it for shading on fake colored bread on clay. And it looks perfect. It matches up as perfectly toasty bread, the color yellow ochre. Anyway, so I found out some really fun stuff about some yellow, and one really interesting. It all comes back to pea. What is with this stuff?
Everything has pea, except for the mineral stuff.
I guess, yeah. So, but I have an extra color at the back end, and then I'm pretty sure I'm done. I didn't do green yet. Fudge.
Oh.
I'll save it for later, okay?
You look at green every day
in
the form of your hair.
Yeah.
So
Yep. Okay. So, yellow being one of the oldest colors in history, as they always say, just like red, but it's because it's the primary, you know. Yellow comes from ochre mainly because it was readily available, even all the way back in ancient Rome and Egypt. It was their favorite color that they used as skin tone. The color yellow represents a lot of things, and throughout history for the Aztec and Maya, it meant it was the best color for purity and holiness and radiance and light and positivity, as a lot of us still think of kind of the color yellow.
Kind of like up there with gold.
Exactly.
It's similar to gold.
Exactly, yes. And so they loved it for that reason. Yeah, so they loved it for that reason. And a lot of colors throughout history have used colors. A lot of religions and cultures throughout history have also used the color yellow to be something signifying, purity and brightness and happiness and stuff. It is a happy color. Some of the other plant dyes outside of turmeric, which is one that a lot of us know of as a yellow because it will stain forever and is beautiful. Celery actually will produce a really beautiful yellow, and I have some fun ideas. You and I talked about a craft before, and we're going to pull all this together. I have some ideas for these plant dyes. Peach tree leaves. Oh, specifically, you have a peach tree.
I do have a peach tree.
Yes, so specifically,
my mom has a peach tree.
The leaves are used the same way. You steep them, and it makes these beautiful different shades of yellow, which is weird because you look at the leaf, it's not yellow, but they show up really beautiful. Dandelion, I guess,
just
is
gonna
another.
say dandelion.
Yes, is definitely another. Dandelion, marigold,
Didn't wanna jump
calendula.
ahead.
Oh, that's okay. They are all used as yellow. They're really beautiful yellows, as well as a lot of pollens have been used.
Oh, like chamomile?
But it's not. Yes, yes, and like
I'm just
oh my
thinking of your
gosh,
garden.
the sunflower pollen that is falling off onto those leaves would totally be good too.
Yeah.
I know a lot of cultures have used pollen for body makeup too. So apparently alfalfa seeds are another. Alfalfa seeds steeped in water will put off a really beautiful yellow that can be used for textiles.
What about mustard seeds? I'm sorry, is that one?
No, it's not. It's
Or is
not
that
one that I
orange?
have that was listed, but it would not surprise me. But again, you would be really surprised because like onion skins will make like purpley red. And, you know, blueberry doesn't actually make a blue. It makes more
like
of a reddy,
purple
brownish mauve. I don't know.
Like,
But
I
so
can think
you
of
never be. We're going to fall in a rabbit hole of just let's put all the shit
I
in water
know,
and see what it color
seriously.
turns.
Well, we don't have to do that too often because my kids can do it themselves with like blueberries all over the shirt. And I'm like, why is this purple?
Right?
So,
Oh, I keep
'cause-
feeling like I'm sounding weird.
no, fine.
And okay, so here comes something gross. And again, coming back to pee. So in Renaissance and medieval times, artists used a color called Indian yellow.
Okay.
And they used it specifically for sorry, I read ahead in my notes, so I made a smiley face. They specifically used the color yellow to highlight cowards and lowliness and sneak thievery. And the color, that's where yellow bellied. Throughout time, it became symbolized as more of a negative connotation. And specifically, Judas Iscariot was always painted with yellow, wearing yellow, a yellow sash or something, you know, for his betrayal. So here comes the best part. Also, I find this kind of nasty as a
You gotta stop messing with me.
throw the cord.
I know.
Like me clicking the pen.
Yeah. I'm messing with my.
It's okay.
Keep messing with the cords.
One of the funny, gross things about this color, this special Indian yellow, it is a pigment made from when a cow is not force-fed, but only fed mango leaves. And a very...
Mango leaves?
Mango leaves,
Okay.
yes. So this was common in India, Indian yellow. The cows were only fed mango leaves and a very small amount of water. It is sad. It became outlawed. I want to say like really early in time. I think they outlawed it in the like the 1700s as realizing it was cruel.
Yeah.
And so the pigment, like the cows would urinate so little that they would just
It'd be
catch
so
it
concentrated.
under. Yes, they would catch it in a bowl and they would dry it out and they would scrape it together.
Ew.
So it was a really beautiful yellow apparently that they would use for paintings and stains and things like that. But it smells.
Oh yeah.
It smells really, really bad. The smell never goes away. So anyway, they would take this pigment and they would scrape it and like mush it into a ball and you would like get a little chunk or whatever. And yeah, so
Ew.
piss yellow for cowards.
Oh. So then they smell like pee.
And yeah, I bet
because
you.
like we were talking about the purple where it like stinks. So like all the robes
clothing
and stuff. Like,
yeah. So I'm like the paintings just always smelled like pee. That's kind of gross.
Ew.
And so actually those were really about the most interesting parts of yellow that I found to be new, especially to me. And so I have just I have an extra little bonus for pink.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then I have something fun I'm going to read because I don't want to fudge it up. It was a really interesting little
so like
blurb on an
verbatim.
article.
Okay.
Yeah. So pink was actually recognized as a concept of color in 800 BCE in Homer's The Odyssey. Like this dude like talks about this stuff all the time. There's always something. He mentions then when the child of morning, rosy-fingered dawn appeared. So he's talking of
the sunset
the
or the sunrise.
Sunrise.
Well,
Yeah.
opposite. Sunrise.
Yeah, rosy-fingered dawn. So it was of a sun rising. Pink was coined as a term named after the flower called pinks. Pinks.
Pinks.
Which are a pale red.
Oh, okay.
And it was named because of people who know some fabric pinking shears. The edge of the flower was like a zigzaggy pattern. That has been a thing known as pinking the edge of the fabric with shears for apparently a really long time.
That's interesting.
So pinks was the flower, and then it was similar to the cutting technique. They named it pinks, and then they realized this color, and it came from a flower. So in the Renaissance era, the pink was only used as flesh tones, and it was made from a red earth called sinopia, and it was mixed with lime white to make a really, really pale rosy pink tone. And one little thing I'm gonna read right here.
Okay. Is it like a fun fact or just a
it's
fun
just a really it's a really
interesting
it's a really interesting fact because rude. It scrolled
Did you
a
lose
little
it?
bit.
Oh.
Just a smidgen. Yeah, I want because I had moved it specifically to the. Sorry.
It's okay. I'm just
okay.
my cords out.
Here we go.
Okay.
This is an article from colormeanings.com written by Jacob Olison. And we can begin by going back into the depths of prehistory. Imagine a world 1.1 billion years ago removed from everything you know and love. We estimate that life on Earth had only existed for about 2.6 billion years at the point. And in this world, where life was still a fairly recent development, a plant's coloring was being preserved in the geographic record. Modern-day researchers have found traces of the molecular fossils of chlorophyll from those ancient times. What's more, we've been able to reconstruct the color of this ancient material, and it's one bright pink, the honor of being, and it's, they wrote this weird, bright pink won the honor of being the oldest known biologically generated color.
Wow.
So the very first plant ever found existed as a pink plant.
Wow,
I thought that was cute.
That is cute.
Yeah, and another little thing was a mistress to King Louis XIV was in love with the color pink, and she wanted everything to be pink. And Marie Antoinette ended up liking the color pink as well.
It is pretty.
It is very cute.
Yeah,
it's super
that's like
cute.
talking about all these colors, like the yellows, the pinks. I just think of your garden because you have so many different colored flowers and like the pale pinks and the dark pinks.
I'm gonna be super, super sad. I found out a little thing about the pink and blue clothing, or gendered clothing. The reason
I think I was asking you about that.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll get to it because I couldn't remember. The color pink was associated as more masculine, especially for a young boy, because red was a masculine color. Pink is an offset of red, so it was considered masculine. Blue was considered a feminine color, because white wasn't anybody color. And so blue was considered feminine, as blue, light, airy, and virginal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That
so
makes
then
sense, I
after
guess.
the World War, I found it and I forgot.
It's okay.
But it was like, it was just like, don't do it.
Yeah.
And so they swapped it. Not that it matters, but it just was weird. And so, and originally, fashionably, men and boys wore pink.
Well, I know Troy will wear pink and he doesn't care. So I guess, boys can still wear pink.
Yeah, my friend, her son, his favorite color's pink. He's just a little bit older than Troy.
Yeah.
He loves it.
Huh.
Why not? It's cute and happy.
Oh, that was interesting.
Yay.
Good job.
I'm like, okay, one fun fact about green. There was a green in Victorian times and everybody loves it, and it's poisonous. And I actually have a little brass walnut that holds a thimble, and it's lined with the green felt, so I don't touch it.
What?
It comes from arsenic. Yeah.
What?
The lining of the felt is green, so I just don't touch it. I try not to touch it.
Crazy.
But it's so cute.
Yeah.
I think I'm not going to cover green, so there you go. I'll do it later. That was it. There you go. Have fun.
Okay. You're over green.
You can Google it.
No, don't do that. No. Gotta listen to us.
Yeah. I'll pick it up some other time, but I'm done with colors for now, guys. Okay.
Okay. That was good.
Thanks.
Good job. Okay. So I have a crime.
I'm sorry. I'm smiling, but it's like I'm just so excited to hear how hard you worked. And it always seems terrible because I'm like, I can't wait to hear it. But I know that like you understand. I'm just like, we've been working really hard, so I'm just like, I like settle in, and I'm like,
yeah. Oh, I know. I know.
Feels shitty. I'm like, smile.
No, we do work really hard.
Sometimes, unfortunately, procrastinating to the very last minute.
Like me, but
I did it too.
It was a busy weekend, and then my anniversary, my anniversary. Me and my husband had our anniversary yesterday.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't want to work on our anniversary, so we just kind of hung out.
Yeah,
but
I wouldn't want to either.
Yeah, so I did my finalization. I had to finish up today. So we worked together, and that was fun. But yeah, I worked hard as usual. I always do. One time I'm like, I didn't have to work at all. No. So my case is on Jennifer Marie Webb.
Don't know that name.
Okay. So on August 30th, 2011, at about 11 o'clock p.m.
Oh, that's my birthday. Wait, what did you say?
August 30th.
That is my birthday.
I totally didn't even think about that. So on your birthday.
You know, it's crazy. A lot of crimes
dates, like,
happen around
birthdays
that are like in the summer. Mm-hmm. Tons of things I hear all the time. I'm sorry. Okay.
So I'm sorry, but this happens on your birthday.
Great.
But in 2011. So, yeah. How old did you turn in 2011?
24.
Oh, okay. Wow, that was fast. I would be like, I don't know. Okay. Sorry. So this happened on August 30th, 2011 at 11 o'clock p.m. In Buena Vista, Michigan. Officer Blue hadn't been heard from in about over an hour while working. He was working like the third shift and, patrolling. So county dispatch and Officer Patterson were both trying to get a hold of him. So Officer Patterson was his partner, and he decided to go to an area where Officer Blue was like, known to patrol and kind of park to see if he could find him. And so he goes out there, and he came upon Officer Blue's patrol car and talked to him. And Blue said he was checking on a suspicious vehicle and said that there was a woman that was on the ground, and it looked like an apparent suicide.
Oh, no.
So officers approached the vehicle, which was near a drainage ditch, and saw a woman on the ground with a brown extension cord wrapped around her neck. And the extension cord was tied to the roof luggage racks, like on top of her car. So it appeared that she had like hung herself.
Oh my gosh.
And another thing that officers noticed was that she was heavily pregnant.
Oh, no.
Like really pregnant. And the back door of her car was open. And Officer Blue showed Officer Patterson the suicide note that he found inside of the car, which is why he's like, it was a suicide. It was a typed up note. And in this note, she says that
no woman would ever type
up a note.
There's no way.
And so in this typed up note, she says that she doesn't know who the father of her unborn baby is, and that it might be a man named Chris. So Officer Blue searched her purse for her identification, and she was identified as Jennifer Marie Webb. Jennifer Webb was a 32-year-old woman who lived in Buena Vista, Michigan, and friends and family described her as a happy and helpful person, and she had a great job, and she even owned her own home. And 5 months before her death, on May 5th, 2011, she found out she was pregnant. She was actually pretty far along in her pregnancy when she found out that she was pregnant, which is common. It happens a lot more than I think people realize. Like, how did you not know? A lot of factors can go into why you don't know. So
was this the first child?
Yes.
That definitely
and that's
makes
another
a
thing you
difference
just
too.
don't know. Yeah. And so she didn't know until further along in her pregnancy. And so her family and friends said that even though the pregnancy was an unexpected surprise, she was excited to be a mom. And so she didn't say who the dad was, but she knew that the baby was a boy. And so she had even started like at her house setting up the nursery in like preparation for his arrival. So she was just doing the typical mom things, getting ready for a baby. And so in July 2011, so this is before she was found dead, Jennifer's house was broken into two separate times. And the first time she wasn't home, and her neighbor saw and called and said, like, you know, her neighbor's house is being broken into, and they're taking her TV. So they stole her TV.
Yeah.
And then the second break-in was 3 weeks later, and someone broke in again, but didn't take anything. So she just decided, like, I'm just going to move back to my parents' house while I'm having this baby just to be safe. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Trying to be responsible. So going back to, okay, so that's a little bit about her, Jennifer. So on August 31st, 2011, 2 hours after her body was found, because remember it was found at like 11. So 2 hours later, detectives went to her parents to tell them about her suicide. Her father was adamant that she wouldn't commit suicide. There's no way. And so detectives, you know, went and looked at her room, and they saw that it was all decorated, ready for a baby. And when she died, she was already 8.5 months pregnant. She was at the very end. Like, very end. She's done all this preparation, carried this baby all this time. So detectives started to question, like, why would she kill herself? Like, this makes no sense. She was preparing for the baby. All her family and friends are saying, like, she was excited. She was ready. So they're just like, So it didn't add up. So her death is now being looked at as a potential murder. I mean, kind of makes sense when you...
Yeah.
I mean, the first, like you said, the first red flag is a typed up suicide note.
Yep. And as a mother, and I know there are always... What is going on? I'm sorry. God. There's always, like, extenuating circumstances.
Yeah.
But,
and,
like...
You know,
most
your
of
daughter.
the time, they're going to be like, I'm going to let this baby be born. Because it's like, I'm not enough. I'm the one that did this, not the baby. That's extremely... It does happen, but so uncommonly.
I think the fact for detectives was that they saw, okay, she's getting prepared to have a baby, doing everything typical.
Yeah.
There was no red flags that anybody was saying, like, oh, she was having a really hard time.
Yeah,
didn't know she wanted
she's
to keep
probably
it.
like, I'm so excited. I can't wait.
Exactly.
Probably excited grandparents.
Especially because she moved back in with them. So I'm sure everybody was just... And she was 8.5 months pregnant. So she's like, you know, at that point, it could happen anytime.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So, yeah, they decided it's probably a potential murder. So during the search of the area where her body was found, flip-flops were found near the drainage ditch. And further down the road, detectives find a single blood spot on the ground. And they also find a piece of necklace within a couple feet of where that blood spot was. So, and they also find a cigarette butt. And so they're starting to think that, okay, with the necklace and the blood, maybe an altercation took place. So they start looking into Jennifer and her life, you know, a little bit, trying to figure out who some potential suspects could be. So Jennifer had a boyfriend named Jay, and they were together for a short time, but friends and family were like, he's not the father. Like, they don't think he's the father. But of course, they can't rule him out.
Yeah. And
then they look at, okay, the suicide note mentioned a guy named Chris, so they were going to, you know, go look at him too. And okay, so Jennifer was known to have multiple boyfriends. Like, she was just looking for the right one.
Yeah.
You know, and she's, you know, young enough that I think she's thinking, like, I want to start a family. I want to find the right guy. And so anyways, Jennifer's mom, like her dad, was adamant that the suicide note was fake. So, like, you don't need to look at this Chris person. We don't know a guy named Chris in her life. But, you know, detectives have to do their job.
Yeah.
And so her mom, I remember reading something where it was like the mom said she wouldn't have typed up a note. It would have been with, like, a glitter pen or something. Like, really girly. Like, it's
There's
just
no way
note.
I would type it. That's anybody.
Sit down
like,
at a computer and type it
and
up and print it out. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. And I think that's why they were like,
there's no way.
I don't know about this. And her mom said the same thing. There's no way.
Yeah.
So detectives are like, okay, Chris is mentioned. She's like, I don't know a guy named Chris. And so they are like, well, we gotta like find this Jay guy and Chris, and we can't rule it out. But the mom was like, she knew who the father was.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, she did? Because I guess she didn't really tell her friends or anything, like other people that they had talked to. And remember, this is like just hours after her death. And she was like, no, she told me she knows who the father is of her unborn baby. It was Officer Kenneth Blue, the very officer who found her body.
Oh, God. And I'm guessing reacted like he has no idea who this person is.
Yeah.
My God.
Dug through her purse to find her ID to identify her.
A turd. Even a one-nighter, you're going to be like, oh my God, I know this person. Yeah. There's going to be some recognition.
I did see one. I couldn't find it in any other article. I did see one where they said that at the scene after he found and saw her ID, he was like, oh my God, I know her. But I couldn't, it's one of those, I can't verify that. It was mentioned.
Her face?
Even then, yeah. Yeah. So, anyways.
Okay.
So, Jennifer had met Kenneth Blue, and his last name is spelled so weird. We were just talking about, how it doesn't look right when you spell it.
Oh, yeah.
His last name is Bleuw. Blue. But it's Blue. So Jennifer had met Kenneth Blue in about 2001 in a bar, and she thought that he and his wife were separated. So think back, this was 10 years before her murder. And they kept seeing each other off and on for a decade. And Kenneth Blue's partner said he thought he was a family man and didn't see how they would know each other. So he didn't even know that they knew each other at all. And since this is now an officer involved incident where they're looking at one of their own, they have to bring in
other people.
Yes. Yeah. So state detectives are brought in to investigate. Because they have to have an unbiased investigator in this. Right. So not one of their own, like his partner or whatever. So detectives knew that Kenneth Blue was the father of Jennifer's unborn baby, and he was the one that found her body. Big connection right there. State detectives bring Kenneth in to interview him, and they ask him if he knew Jennifer Webb, and he said he did. He says that he had met her over 10 years ago at a bar when he had first started as a cop. And he said that he would run into her maybe once or twice a month, just kind of see her. So then detectives ask him how he didn't recognize her immediately at the scene. How did you not know her car? How did you not know her face? How did you not know?
Right.
And he said he just went into work mode and started checking her car and the surroundings.
I mean, to not be morbid, but if you strangled yourself, that's going to
it's going to alter your appearance.
And let's pretend he didn't know there was a pregnancy that resulted from their night. He's he's not going to immediately, okay, yeah, I don't want to, but...
Yeah, and so he's I just went into work mode. I'm gotta check the surroundings, gotta see if there's someone in the area, gotta see if they're, whatever. Yeah. So detectives then noticed that Kenneth had a few injuries.
Oh, really?
Yeah. His eye was red and had been scratched in the corner. And so when detectives asked him about that injury, he said he was wrestling and playing with his dog at home and she got him. And it had happened before work that day. And they also noticed that he had an injury to his left index finger. And so his partner said, well, he didn't come into work with any injuries. So, this, I don't see where that story's, going. Because obviously they're going to ask, did he have these at the beginning of shift? They're doing their job of asking, okay, when did these injuries happen? So they're starting to connect the dots. So state detectives then ask him if he could be the father of Jennifer's unborn baby, and he said he never slept with her. So later on in the interview, they asked permission to get a DNA sample from him, and he agrees. So at the time, they didn't have enough to arrest him, so he was released. They just had, I guess in this case, it's circumstantial evidence. It's oh, what a coincidence. It's they gotta verify what the mom said that's but like, how would the mom even know that name, So anyway, so at 12:30 p.m., just 13 hours into the investigation, an autopsy was performed and the manner of death was determined to be homicide. The cause of death was strangulation. The hanging was staged. Detectives found that 100 yards west of where her car was found, a struggle or like altercation occurred, and that's where she was killed, and then her body was moved and her car was moved. So Kenneth Blue was the main suspect, but like I said, detectives still have to look at like other potential suspects. And so text messages show that Jennifer was talking to a man named Chris. And, he was mentioned in the suicide note. And the texts between Jennifer and Chris were like a little flirty, a little flirtatious. So detectives knew that they need to start finding him. And
they're obviously well associated.
Yeah. He could be the father, the potential father. So
or at least know something more.
Exactly. So they need to find him. So in the meantime, this is just one day after her murder, the lab processed Jennifer's vehicle. They found blood and a partial bloody fingerprint inside.
His boo-boo finger.
The lab also processed her clothing. And they found a fingertip portion of a latex glove. And there was blood on, so just the tip.
He had gloves on, and the glove got pulled off. Snap!
So there was blood on the inside and the outside of it, and it had saliva on it.
She bit his finger off. She tried. Go girl.
So you're on the right track. So an expedited request was made on the DNA that was gathered. And while waiting for the results of the DNA, detectives continued to search for Chris. And friends and family members said that they were like, we don't know anyone named Chris. So she was just talking to him on the side, maybe. And detectives finally found the Chris that she was talking to. And he wasn't even in the area when Jennifer was killed. So he was immediately eliminated as a suspect. So, and obviously they're already like, well, we're just waiting for the DNA to come back to kind of confirm what we suspect at this moment. So on September 6, 2011, 1 week after Jennifer's death, the first of the DNA results came back. So here we go.
Dun, 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 dun.
The blood spot that was found on the pavement of the west of her car. Remember that little tiny spot? It belonged to Jennifer.
Okay.
The cigarette butt found was determined to have DNA belonging to Kenneth Blue. It was also determined that Kenneth Blue was the father of Jennifer's unborn baby. There were 30 or so DNA matches found in the car that belonged to him. The blood found in the car, I guess there was blood all over the car, belonged to Kenneth. The fingertip of the latex glove was found to be his blood. And the injury on Kenneth's left index finger was likely caused by Jennifer. Like you said, she probably bit the shit out of his finger. And good on her. Get his DNA all over the place. And that's, what spread the blood all over the car. So the blood was his.
Because he probably was like, and pulled his hand back, flail it around.
Yeah, she clearly fought hard for her life and her baby's life and made sure to cause enough injury that his DNA was all over. So Kenneth's partner and other officers and detectives were shocked, obviously. It was clear that he had been planning this for a while. Now, listen to this. Okay, suicide note. Obviously, we know that was weird. There's no way she's going to type up a suicide note.
Yeah.
There were actually 14 fingerprints found on the suicide note, and they were all Kenneth's. Not a single fingerprint was hers. And the fingerprints on the back side of the suicide note showed no damage to his fingerprints.
So he typed it up freaking before she bit his finger.
Yes. So clearly, like you said, it was done before and he planted it, because if he had touched the note afterwards, there would be blood and there would be clear indication of an injury.
I'm so sorry. One more time. Where was her car found?
it was like near a drainage ditch, but it was in an area that he was known to patrol and be. So it's probably a meetup
never
area.
do it out in public like that. That is so. That's another thing too. That's what I thought. It's like, you said it was outside, right? They would never
no.
That's so uncommon for someone out in the middle of like the open. Okay. Anyway, sorry.
No, I agree. And thankfully, I mean, think about this. This is within 24 hours of her death. They've already pieced this together, and it was just a week later all the DNA came in. This is in 2011 as well, but it was a week later all the DNA came in. It was like bing, 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 everything we thought. So it was pretty obvious, because like, things just didn't add up. So
I still can't believe he pretended like he didn't know her at all.
Yeah,
it would be more believable if he was like, "Oh my god, I kind of know this lady."
Yeah,
move it to someone else immediately.
That's what I was saying. Like, I can't confirm that one statement that I saw that he was like, "Oh my gosh, I know her."
Yeah.
After he saw the ID, I don't know. It could have happened either way.
Yeah.
Like they said, how did you not know it was her? You know her car. You know her. How did you not know it was her? So, anyway, so with all this, obviously, they have enough evidence to prove that Kenneth Blue killed Jennifer Webb. So on September 12th, 2011, Kenneth was arrested for the murder of Jennifer Webb. And the motive that the prosecution came up with was that he didn't want to pay for child support and that he didn't want his wife to find out. And which makes sense. So then we find out from a friend of hers that on the morning of Jennifer's murder, she had been at this friend's house helping her out with her twin babies. And she had told this friend that she, after she left, she was like, I'm going to go and meet up with the baby's father, because I don't think she said the name. I'm going to go meet up with the baby's father to discuss the upcoming birth. And she was actually going to talk to him about putting his name on the baby's birth certificate.
Oh. Yeah, that's going to cause some problems.
And so she had also said that she decided on a name for the baby, and he was going to be Braxton. So she, was clearly excited for this baby.
Right.
And just a few hours after leaving her friend's home, her body was found. So the prosecution presented the fact that Kenneth Blue was the person that she was going to meet up with.
Right.
And then he was the one that found her body.
So, of course, he would be able to catch up to her and find her because he'd planned on meeting up.
Yeah, they were going to meet up, and then so he had the motive and the opportunity because he was going to meet up with her. But then remember, he wasn't able to get a hold of her. They couldn't get a hold of him for about an hour. And the only reason that his partner came out to try to find him was because they couldn't they couldn't get a hold of him.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, maybe he's patrolling over here. Yeah. So
maybe he's murdering somebody over here.
Yeah. So he had likely killed her and then couldn't get out in time because Officer Patterson showed up to the scene. So then he was just like, oh, yeah, I stumbled upon this car and there's a woman laying on the ground. Because
literally it was just done. What did he do? Put his hand in his pocket? His eye would have been all busted.
Yeah.
What is happening?
I know. Well, and it's also dark. So
gotcha.
It's 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
So on October 11th, 2011, after just 1 hour deliberation from the jury, Kenneth Blue was found guilty of 4 felony charges, which were first-degree premeditated murder, assault of a pregnant individual with the intent to cause miscarriage or stillbirth, and 2 counts of possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. He was given a sentence of life without the possibility of parole for the murder conviction, 65 to 100 years for the assault conviction, and a 2-year prison sentence per each felony firearm conviction, which was 2. So 4 years. He appealed, of course, all the charges and had actually tried to get the conviction overturned, stating ineffective counsel. But that was denied because of the abundance of evidence proving his guilt.
Right.
You literally...
Your counsel couldn't have helped you out of this.
You could have had the best attorney ever in the world, and you would not have gotten out of this no matter what.
Yeah.
So he continued to appeal, and on November 3rd, 2014, a judge reluctantly reduced the sentence for the assault charge, and it was reduced to because remember, it was 65 to 100 years for the assault conviction. So it was reduced to, that's the only one, 18 years and 9 months to 47 years. So it was just meh. But that's for the assault charge. He's still in prison for life for the murder.
Exactly. That only means because you get like X amount of appeals per X amount of years sentenced, correct?
Yes. And then you can take it up to like the Supreme Court, appeals. But yeah, so he just kept appealing. And it's like, dude, you're not going to get it overturned. It was clear. You're the father of her unborn baby. She was going to meet up with you. You're married, with I think he has like a kid.
What's crazy too is like they would do genetic testing on the fetus.
He's just an idiot because it's like, how did you not think?
My eyebrow is literally like it's twitching because I'm like,
it's so
crazy because of the simple fact that like although you and I can never fathom committing crimes like this, we're also like, how can you be so dumb?
He's an officer. He knows how investigations are done, and I think
that there was not going to be any chance.
I think he was hoping that it was just going to look like a suicide and that he was going to get away with it.
Yeah, that she was like ashamed, but
and I think he got interrupted during the commission of this crime, and so he didn't get to finish cleaning up the scene or whatever. But I'm like, I also probably think he did not count on her fighting back so hard.
Oh yeah,
you attack a pregnant woman, she is going to fight not only for her life, but her unborn baby. And she did.
Probably like harder than the average because
you're like, I got to protect my baby.
Right.
I can't let anything. I'm the protector of this baby. And so I don't think he counted on her fighting back so hard. And then again, I'm like, he really wasn't smart enough to like think about the suicide note, and your fingerprints are all over that. Yeah. Or with the gloves then. But good thing he was stupid, because otherwise this might have been a family that just thought that their daughter killed herself because
at the last minute
couldn't be a mom or whatever. So no, he did it. It's very clear. All the evidence, all the DNA points to him. He's in prison. He will never get out.
And it sucks because, like, his poor wife and other children.
Oh, she divorced him, right?
Yeah,
as
like,
soon
not
as he was
only,
arrested
it's like,
for
dude,
it.
Okay, maybe she's not going to forgive you for what you did, but guess what? Now nobody will, including your children, for what you did to someone else. They're half sibling.
Yeah.
And, it's like, you never would have known how your family would have reacted had you given them the chance to maybe work through your fuck up, excuse me, but, your mistake. You never know. And instead, you just ruined a ton of lives.
Yeah.
Which is so selfish and just disgusting. It's like,
grandparents' lives, parents' lives, and because like her parents,
your own children, like, your wife who's gonna have to move and change her name because of what you did.
Can't live in the same town because all the officers know it was your
Everyone's
husband.
Know.
And because he was an officer for so long at that point, because I think he started as an officer, I believe, in 1997, and so he had been an officer for a few years when he met her, and then carried on this affair for like off and on affair. I think could have just been a hookup. I don't know, for like a decade. And then she ends up pregnant, and then it's like, what did you think was going to happen? You play with fire, you're going to, it's going to happen. So, it's just so unfortunate. Why couldn't he have just let her like go? I guarantee you, he didn't want his wife to find out, and he didn't want to pay child support.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it was probably like, well, he had been planning it for a while, but it's one of those things of like, oh, I want you to be on the baby's birth certificate. You're his father, blah, blah, blah. And he's probably like, I don't want any of this.
Should have thought about that before.
Yeah. So.
Oh my God, the firearm charge is crazy because was it a personal weapon or was it his issue?
I didn't look into that too much. It probably was his issued firearm. Yeah. So I don't know if he had two or if he had one of his own or whatever, but it was two different counts for that. The one count was the assault and the other count was the murder. Yeah. So yeah, I'm glad at least, I get it. It's so interesting when you look at all these charges and you're like, oh, they are going away for this one charge for life. But I think what people get confused in is so that assault charge was lowered. You have multiple charges. He could have had the murder charge overturned or whatever. And then he would only be in prison for like 18, 20 years maybe. So
Yeah.
it's like, that's why they do multiple counts, because if
Because
one
you
of them
just
gets
don't
appealed
know, right?
and
Or the
changed.
jury's like,
Mhm.
no, I don't.
or it
think
gets
they,
reduced from
whatever.
life in prison
Mhm.
without possibility of parole, and instead it's like this and this, and you get on good
And
behavior.
then those
so.
like amount of appeals, it does matter.
Mhm.
It does. Even for me, sometimes I'm like, what? It just seems so crazy. Like, what is the point of a 400-year sentence? Nobody's gonna live for 400 years, but it matters
because it can get
of
reduced. It
in
can
good
get
behavior, whatever,
Mhm.
overcrowding. You just never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, so that's why. But because when I'm like, man, that's a lot of like convictions,
Mhm.
and I have to remember, I'm like, well, it's because like what happened? His assault charge got
Right.
reduced.
So not that much though. Still his
I
lifetime.
know
Which
it's
is
still his
crazy.
life. Yeah. So thankfully, he's gone forever. We don't have to worry about him. So what?
No, I remembered something totally from our last recording, our last episode that I
you rose your
forgot.
hand. Yes.
Yeah,
Elaine.
What I forgot in my crime about John Ruloff, and I meant to talk about this last time, and I totally forgot something super interesting about his dumb butt. He had the largest brain in recorded.
This is the smart guy.
The really smart
Yeah.
dumb guy. Yes, his brain is at a medical museum, not on display, but they own it because his brain was the second largest ever recorded in history.
What?
Like on medical record. Yes, his brain was giant. Yep.
That is
Crazy. Doesn't mean he was using it all, but yeah.
No.
I'm almost positive I did not mention that. Like I meant, yeah, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
So
Wow,
there we
that's
go. There's a little
interesting.
bit that I had forgotten, and I even had it in my notes, but I skipped over it because I usually do like if there's any facts or anything at the very end.
Yeah.
And so that was one of them.
Even today, I was
Mhm.
like, I think I talk about this later. as
I
was
literally
talking.
am like, did I talk about this last time? Because I
Yeah.
can't remember.
It's really hard.
we get
have
them
a-
jumbled up a lot
Mhm.
because this is when we record, we're ahead really good.
Oh yeah,
So it kind of keeps catching up. Like, which one did we just talk about?
I know. Yeah, we release them in order, but we record
Yeah.
them really early, so we're
Mhm.
never behind.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. Anyways, okay. Well, with that, stay crafty.
And not cry me.
Bye.